Good morning and welcome to another edition of the Daily Fix. I am your usual host and presenter, Advocate Tulo Hoyani. In the last episode of the Daily Fix, I made a promise that I would give you the conditions, that Kweli Kumalo wants to see fulfilled before she can come out clean about what happened to Senzo in that house 10 years ago. Some of you have come forward to say, why is she particularly willing to come out clean and, own up to this whole thing at this particular point in time? Well, I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. But I can only surmise as follows. Kininda has thrown her under the bus. Kininda has thrown her under the bus because the narrative of 3636 that says there were intruders in that house makes her an intentional murderer. In other words, if we go by the narrative of 636, that there were intruders in that house, it would then mean that Senzo's murder was a premeditated and planned murder. And premeditated murder in South Africa carries a life sentence. Those are very serious consequences for her. So that is probably what motivates her. Because if she owns up to this whole thing, then it changes complexion altogether. It moves away from being premeditated murder to being an unintentional killing. And an unintentional killing will definitely, attract a lesser sentence because she had no intention. You see, an intentional murder and an unintentional killing are two different things in law. So this is what we have, the latest that we have, as far as the Meiwa matter is concerned. Now, let me go forward and say, if Kelly Kumalo owns up and says, well, I'll disclose my role in the whole thing. I pulled the trigger of the gun that ended Senzo's life, but it was not intentional. Then what do we make of the current trial that we see unfolding in court? Because that would then rubbish everything that Gininda and Balwe stand for. Because the narrative that we have in court now is that there were intruders into that house. The narrative that we have in court now is that Kelly Kumalo was the mastermind behind those people who ended killing Senzo Meyiwa. Now, if she comes up and says, I never premeditated or pre-planned Senzo's killing. I never made use of anybody or bought any assassin to kill Senzo Meyiwa. Then what happens to the trial that we are seeing in court? Somebody, especially the investigators of this matter, owe South Africans a huge explanation. Remember, there's that man called Tlapadima. Tlapadima says the crime scene was tampered with. He also says the investigation was thrown off track because they were sold a story right from the very beginning that there had been intruders into that house. Now, if Kelly Kumalo comes forward like she intends to come forward in the manner that I've just outlined, this gives credibility to what Tlapadi might say, that there were no intruders into that house. It was simply a question of, Longwe having brought a gun to the house and trying to threaten one of the people who were there invited by Senzo from Devon, who he suspected were having an affair, who he suspected one was having an affair with Zandi Kumalo. He was dispossessed of the gun by Senzo, who manhandled him essentially, and the gun ended up being given by Senzo to Kelly Kumalo. And Kelly Kumalo started playing with the gun. It fired a bullet or bullets. And that is how Senzo left this world. That is the bullet that killed Senzo. Fired by a gun in the possession of Kelly Kumalo. What do you make of the justice system in South Africa? If then this comes to the fore from the key and central players who were in the house, where then did we get the narrative that there were intruders in that house? You know, it has always been very astonishing because people have been saying, why is Kelly Kumalo not being called by the prosecution as a witness? Why call Zandi? Well, Zandi was also there. Perhaps you can say, okay, Zandi can be called. But why not Kelly too? Kelly was a central person, a central player here. Because the person who got killed was Senzo Meyiwa, her boyfriend. It says a lot about the justice system, if you see what I'm trying to say here. Juxtapose the narrative that there were no intruders against what we are seeing in court. What do you call this trial? A mockery of justice? A travesty of justice? Just what is this? Because you see, this would have serious consequences. Because if Kelly Kumalo owns up and says, well, I pulled the trigger of the gun that eventually killed Senzo, it means we are running the risk of convicting innocent people of the murder of Senzo Meyiwa, allegedly on the basis of confessions that they made, when in fact they did not kill Senzo Meyiwa. And remember, these people have always strenuously denied that they never made any confession before any magistrate. And the evidence that they killed Senzo Meyiwa largely relies on those disputed confessions. What happened? How do we make of those confessions? Can we not then go along with the narrative that, in fact, these confessions were not made freely and voluntarily, in the light of what we know, in the light of the fact that, let's say for argument's sake, Kelly Kumalo and Longwe are now here to say there were no intruders into the house. What a travesty of justice. But you see, the pursuit of justice here that I've embarked upon is not about me, it's not about you. It is about the Meyiwa family. It is the Meyiwa family that seeks closure, real closure, personal closure. And if only the Meyiwa family can get justice, get the truth of what happened. It does not matter what happened. But if they can only get the truth of what happened, then their souls will rest in peace. And Senzo, may his soul rest in peace, will also rest in peace. We'll do away with, the many confusing stories. These stories have confused Senzo's mother so much. She doesn't know what really happened to her son. That is the bottom line. She does not know who to believe and who not to believe. And the least that we can do is to say to Senzo's mother, this is how it happened. A tragic 10 years later. But better late than never. I think what Kelly Kumalo intends to do, if she goes through with it, is the honorable thing to do. What Longwe intends to do is the honorable thing to do under the circumstances. And should they go through with what they intend to do and tell us and take us into their confidence about what happened on that fateful day, I will eternally honor their dignity. And South Africans will also say to themselves, at least these two people at the end of the day were willing enough and were honest and decent enough, to own up and say, and to own up and take responsibility. Having said that, let me thank you for watching this video. The subscriptions and views are coming in a very satisfactory manner. Please keep on viewing and subscribing. But above all, never view without subscribing. Make it a point. You view, you subscribe. Thank you very much and have a nice day.